We're going to take a few minutes for folks to join us. So following this Facebook conversation, just want to let you know that you can find this video on my Facebook page, and you can use the handle @Rep Raul Ruiz MD, REPREULRUIZ MD. We're going to just wait a couple more minutes for more people to log on live. Good evening, folks. We're waiting for more people to join us on our live Facebook conversation with California Attorney General Rob Bonta. We'll get started in just a few seconds. We'll wait one more minute. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We're going to take a few minutes, one more minute, in fact, for folks to join us. And just to let you know, following this conversation, you can find this video on my Facebook page @Rep Raul Ruiz MD. So the @ Rep Raul Ruiz MD. Hello, D. Wagner. Thanks for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm Congressman Dr. Raul Ruiz, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. I'm so glad to welcome you to tonight's live discussion with our very own California Attorney General, Rob Bonta. First, I want to thank all of you who took the time to reply to the e-newsletter sent out last week and shared what's been on your mind. And we received more than 250 questions from people across our district. And I can't tell you how meaningful that is to me, because hearing directly from you, your concerns, your struggles, and your ideas is what guides everything I do in Congress. And if you want to receive my e-newsletter moving forward, if you don't receive them now, you can sign up by visiting my website at ruiz.house.gov/newsletter-subscription. So just go to my website, look for the newsletter icon, and then just sign up so that you don't miss out on the opportunities to learn about what I'm doing, or opportunities like this to submit questions for these type of events. And as we reviewed the survey responses, it was clear that many of you are focused on the same critical issues: making healthcare more affordable and accessible, strengthening our economy and creating good paying jobs, ensuring we have a fair and humane approach to immigration and border security, and preventing the harmful impacts of a federal government shutdown. So these are the issues that affect our families, our communities, and our future. And these are the issues that we're going to be discussing tonight as well. So because so many of you asked similar questions, our team went through all of your responses carefully and selected a few questions that represent the topics we heard most often. And so we'll be discussing those tonight so we can address the issues that matter most to the largest number of you. So I'm especially grateful to be joined by Attorney General Bonta, who has been a strong advocate for justice, fairness, and the well-being of Californians. Together, we'll talk about the challenges our communities face and the work we're doing at both the federal and state level to improve people's lives. So thank you again for being here, for engaging with us, and for being part of this conversation. Your voice truly matters, and tonight is all about hearing you and responding directly to your concerns. Attorney General Bonta, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Congressmember, and I am grateful to be here with our shared constituents. And to all of you, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know there's a lot of places you could be and things you could be doing, and you chose to be with the Congressmember and I, and for that, I am grateful. Congressmember, thank you for being such a great friend, a great leader, and for welcoming me with you tonight. And I first and foremost want to say to all the constituents of California's 25th Congressional District watching today and participating today, you are lucky to have Dr. Raul Ruiz in your corner in DC. He is courageous, he's a fighter. And again, I'm grateful to be here with him and to have this opportunity to join virtually to talk about the actions we're taking at the California Department of Justice to protect our rights, our freedoms, and future amidst the challenges coming out of the federal administration, coming from the White House and the federal government generally. The sort of silver lining here is that we had a good idea of what to expect before President Trump took office. We had been preparing for what might come, but we had hoped this second term might be different, that he wouldn't trample over the Constitution, that he would not blatantly disregard our rights and protections under the law. But unfortunately, that has not been the case, regardless of what comes from the White House and the Republican members of Congress. I want to take a moment to reassure you, I'm not here to pick a fight, but I'm not backing down from one either. And I know the same goes for Congressmember Ruiz. So far, in 39 weeks, I've had to sue the Trump administration 44 times, a pace of more than one lawsuit per week. Our lawsuits have protected federal funding California is owed, safeguarded federal agencies and services we rely on, and defended the rights our Constitution affords us. While there's a narrative out there that Trump is doing whatever he pleases and getting away with it, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing the courts hold. We're seeing successes in the vast majority of our lawsuits. We're winning court orders over 80% of the time in our favor. And we're seeing full final victories that are delivering real results for Californians. We've preserved more than 168 billion, billion with a B, dollars in funding for education, healthcare, and infrastructure when Trump unlawfully and unconstitutionally tried to withhold it from California. We've blocked efforts to tie unrelated immigration enforcement policies to federal funding. We've protected birthright citizenship. While the litigation continues, we've preserved access to public benefits like healthcare, disability, and nutrition programs. We've sued over the unlawful deployment of National Guard troops and Marines for civilian law enforcement, and we've supported others in their actions like the ACLU and others in their challenges to unconstitutional ICE and CBP actions. We don't expect the president's barrage of unlawful and chaotic and disruptive executive orders and actions to slow down, which means neither will our work ahead. The president has proven time and time again that he has no problem flat out ignoring the laws that Congress has enacted and plowing ahead with his own hateful agenda in clear violation of the constitutional guarantee of a separation of powers. Republicans in Congress have made it clear they're just fine with letting that happen. Fortunately, we still have some state representatives that believe in the rule of law and are standing up for what's right. We have leaders at the federal level like Congressmember Ruiz and other Democratic colleagues who are getting the job done and pushing back. That's why my team is working around the clock. That's why we're remaining vigilant regarding everything that the president and his administration do. And you can be sure if the president breaks the law, we will stop him. If he violates the Constitution, we will see him in court. California DOJ will continue to protect, defend, and serve every single Californian. And we'll do so with partners like Congressmember Ruiz. It's going to be a long 4 years, no doubt. We've got to be clear-eyed and sober about what the future holds. But we will get through it if we stick together, a united front, ready to protect our people, defend our rights, and lead with our California values. Here in the Golden State, I'm committed to ensuring that progress will prevail, and I know you are too. Thank you, and now I think we have some questions.
Yeah, thank you. Great. That's wonderful. And I want to really appreciate you for taking the time and joining us and the people of the California's 25th district in the southeast corner of California. So let's dive right into questions from the community. So a major area of concern we heard from constituents was the integrity of our democratic systems, with increasing public discourse around election security and constitutional rights. Our experience with President Trump proclaiming the big lie that he won the election, that it was stolen from him. Our community wants to know what's being done to safeguard our democracy. So Paul from Indio asks, what is being done to ensure our free and fair elections are protected?
Absolutely. That's something that's been a top priority for us. We've been seeing attempts to undermine our free and fair elections. Certainly, as mentioned in your question, misinformation, disinformation, misrepresentation, straight out lies about the outcomes of past elections, like the 2020 presidential election that President Biden won. Trump continues to deny that and says he won by a lot. And so it's a problem because of his platform and the megaphone that he has, and also the conspiracy theories that he and others continue to promote around our elections. Our elections, the truth is, our elections are secure. They are safe, they're reliable, we can depend on them, they're accurate. And so what are we doing? We're defending free and fair elections by upholding voting rights of Americans and Californians and all those eligible to vote. We're enforcing election laws and we're breaking down barriers to participation in our democracy. We sued the Trump administration, for example, over an unconstitutional executive order that tried to impose voter restrictions and undermine state ballot counting procedures. And we won a preliminary injunction blocking those unlawful provisions. One important point to make here is that Congress and the states are the ones who determine the time, place, and manner of elections, not the president. So the president's executive order overstepped his authority that he has in the executive branch, and we were able to block that action, at least preliminarily, while the case continues. We also stopped voter suppression at the local level. Here in California, we won a lawsuit against Fresno County after it passed a measure that would have reduced voter turnout by moving key elections off the presidential cycle. We're also challenging illegal voter ID laws, including a lawsuit that we have against Huntington Beach for attempting to impose ID requirements prohibited by California law. We're standing up for states' rights to expand access, supporting laws that protect early voting and ensure every valid absentee ballot is counted. We're defending vote by mail, which Trump is attacking. And we're fighting election misinformation head on. For example, warning tech and AI companies that voter deception and intimidation, including deep fake or robocall scams. You'll remember there was a robocall, deep fake robocall pretending to be Joe Biden's voice, telling people misinformation about an upcoming election last year in 2024. And this conduct is illegal under California law, so we've let tech and AI companies know that. And as AG, we're going to be sure to continue to defend the right to vote in any and every way it needs to be defended. We now have the potential and possibility of National Guard being deployed in LA, maybe other places in California on election day, on this coming election day in 2 weeks, on November 4th. And there could be a chilling impact. We're going to make sure we make sure that the polling stations are accessible and safe and free of intimidation or any other unlawful conduct. So we're working on a bunch of different areas to protect and defend free and fair elections in California and throughout the United States.
Thank you. So now a little more general question. Kurt from San Jacinto asks, how can we work together to stop Trump and his allies from eroding democracy, our democratic institutions, and instead protect our constitutional rights?
Well, right now, we are seeing an attempt to erode our democracy. You're right to acknowledge that. Honestly, it's a tough thing to see from your own federal government, chipping away at the foundational pillars of our democracy. Things like our checks and balances, our separation of powers, our rights and freedoms, and I just want to take a moment to reaffirm to all of you that I'm here to protect, defend, and enforce our state laws and protections. And we're here for you. And you can be sure that if Trump breaks the law or violates the Constitution, we're going to see him in court. We've done that 44 times in 39 weeks. And we have to continue to fight. All of us have a role against every attempt to curtail our freedoms, to violate our rights, dismantle our democracy. No matter how exhausting it is, we've got to stay engaged. We've got to stay enraged by the president's flagrant abuse of power, his disregard for the law. And I know you know this because you're on this call, but democracy is not a spectator sport. It's full contact. It thrives on engagement. It dies with apathy and neglect. And we need each and every one of you in the game, participating, not on the sidelines. That means, sharing opinions with friends and family, participating in community convenings, like this, peacefully protesting. So thank you for being engaged.
Thank you. So moving on to another topic, a significant number of our constituents express concerns about civil rights and due process violations, especially regarding the treatment of immigrants and the rise of domestic extremist groups. These are emotional and very urgent topics for many families in my district. In particular, we heard from constituents who are worried about the actions of immigration enforcement agents and the fear those actions have created in our communities. In addition to enforcement, there's also concern about whether immigrant families and individuals are being informed of their constitutional rights or their due process rights, especially in interactions with ICE agents. There's been some arrest of U.S. citizens around the nation by ICE agents. Ensuring that everyone, regardless of status, understands their rights under the law is a critical part of protecting due process and civil liberties. So Debbie from San Jacinto asks, what is being done about ICE arresting and interrogating immigrants without due process and the inhumane treatment they are receiving? And what is being done about US born white nationalist and white supremacist groups that are committing crimes?
Yeah. A couple thoughts on that. One, as you know, California cannot entirely prevent or restrict or obstruct federal immigration enforcement from the federal government if they're doing it lawfully. But we've also made clear through our California Values Act, which is a pro-safety and pro-trust act, SB 54, that state and local law enforcement cannot use taxpayer dollars to do ICE's job. State and local resources won't do the federal government's immigration enforcement job for them. And the federal government needs to do their job lawfully, and they haven't always done it, as you've mentioned. There have been examples where we've seen what appears to be unlawful detention and arrest, use of excessive force, racial profiling, and there was a court case that we joined. So to the what can we do? Usually those who are harmed are the ones who need to bring a case, and the ACLU has represented a number of folks in the LA area bringing a case in front of a federal judge, arguing successfully at the trial level that ICE has been involved in racial profiling, use of improper reliance on language spoken, and perceived job occupation and location to stop and search, seize, arrest, detain individuals. And the court found that that was unlawful. Unfortunately, Justice Kavanaugh wrote a disturbing concurrence saying that those things were appropriate to rely on when it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court stayed or paused the lower court's order. So there's more chapters to be written in that lawsuit. But when rights are violated, they must be vindicated, and people can go to court to vindicate those rights. And we're monitoring ICE raids. We're reviewing different cases for compliance with the law or lack thereof, potentially, being willing to bring a civil case or a criminal case when appropriate. And then when it comes to hate crimes, my office has been focusing on that since day one when I took over in 2021. And if you or someone knows of a victim or of a hate crime, please contact us and also your local law enforcement agency. So for all these issues, we're monitoring them. We value them and see them as you do. They are major concerns and threats to our community, and we're going to take all legal action that we can to push back and fight back against them.
Thank you so much. Part of Congress's role is in providing checks and balances, is to provide oversight and accountability to the administration branch. We have the legal right as members of Congress to show up to detention centers. And I was denied entry to the detention center at Adelanto. The law states anytime, any location, that no federal money should be used to obstruct that. Well, they did. So I, along with other members, are suing the administration, Department of Homeland Security, for violating that law and my rights as a member of Congress to provide that oversight. Bridget from unincorporated Palm Desert also asks, what recourse do we have to stop ICE agents from terrorizing communities and arresting citizens and lawful green card holders?
Yeah, generally the best approach and most effective approach under the law, when you have a federal government being sued, there's different pathways you need to go through. There's different protections the federal government has, but usually the person injured, the person mistreated, the person whose rights were violated should be bringing their own case. And it's called a Bivens action in legal parlance. And you can sue a federal officer for violating your rights, violating the Fourth Amendment, for example, for an unreasonable or unlawful search or seizure, detention, um, and bring that case in federal court. There could be criminal uh, violations as well, and so my office is it can be involved in that. Potentially, a district attorney's office could as well. But again, there's different protections that the federal government has in our system, like they can take the case out of state court and move it to federal court. But
What, so what are some of those rights an individual has if they're being detained or questioned by an ICE agent, whether they're an immigrant or they're a U.S. citizen?
like, for example, it's all the rights that normally apply. Like you have a right to access to counsel. You have a right to invoke the Fifth Amendment if you think anything that you say could be used against you. If you are, for example, in your home, you have a right to not provide access to your home unless they have a search warrant signed by a judge. That includes the ability to enter your home. And so those are some of the rights that individuals
Thank
have. And a lot of them are remedied later, unfortunately, in a court case.
thank you. So several of the questions we got raised serious concerns about the use and potential misuse of federal power, especially when it comes to civil liberties and public safety. So these questions reflect fears about federal overreach and political retaliation. So David from Indio asks, how do you respond to Trump's effort to put military forces in the streets during protests?
Yeah. We are fighting that fight right now. And I just want to be clear here, though it doesn't seem like he believes this, Trump is not king. He is not above the law. He's acting if he has carte blanche to deploy National Guard troops anywhere in the country for any reason, for any amount of time, with no court review. And that's just not true. And so it's our National Guard, by the way, California's National Guard, not Trump's Royal Guard. And he can't use the military troops as his own personal police force. So we've gone to court multiple times. We've gotten orders stopping him from deploying the National Guard, stopping him from using it for things that he's prohibited from using it for, like civilian law enforcement. That's what police and sheriff's departments do. That's not what the military is supposed to do. And when there's a clear violation of the law, we can go to court and get orders by courts blocking and stopping Trump's use of the National Guard. And in LA, he also used the Marines. So there are definitely limits, and it's incumbent upon us because he is not self-regulating and self-policing and honoring those limits. So we need to go to court to make sure a court orders him to follow the rules when he tries to put military forces in the streets during protests and at other times, like he did in LA.
Yeah. And what's another constituent asked, what is your response to reports that the administration is threatening to cut funding to blue cities or blue states? You had mentioned earlier, or let me continue with this question. How will California ensure public safety if federal support is reduced for political reasons?
We're in that fight right now. And first, I'll say Congressman Ruiz and his colleagues in Congress, the body of Congress has the power of the purse. They decide how to appropriate our funds. The job of the president and the executive branch is to execute those wishes and make sure that the funds flow as Congress has stated. And so time and time again, Trump has tried to get in the way of funding coming to California as a blue state, funding that comes to the blue cities in our blue state. It's very partisan, as you mentioned, very transparently. So he admits it and he acknowledges it and he states it that he's trying to cut funding to blue states. And we've blocked him because he can't stop the funding that Congress has already appropriated. We protected $168 billion. That includes public safety funding for victims, funding for violence interruption programs, funding for counterterrorism and cybersecurity, for disaster relief. So we're able to go to court to sue him when he violates the separation of powers, essentially, and trying to stop funding from coming to California. The political point is really important, too, because there's a right to equal sovereignty. Each state has its own state sovereignty, and they should be equal with the other states since we're one of 50 states. And if he's targeting specifically blue states because they're blue, because they didn't vote for him, because he thinks they don't like him, then there's sovereignty rights that are being violated, we would argue. So we're developing some actions with that theory as well.
Yeah, or because, and I'll use his words, he hates Democrats. He said, the president of the United States saying he hates Americans by saying he hates Democrats. And so
Half of
it's
Americans.
a day. And so if he hates Democrats, he's doing all these illegal withholdings of funds. So we're almost to the end. There's one more question. We received a number of questions about how state and federal agencies are working together to enforce the law effectively. There's a gentleman by the name of George who asked, how is the California Department of Justice working with federal and local agencies to improve enforcement around human trafficking, corporate fraud, and consumer protections? And are there any new tools or partnerships being used to support cross-jurisdictional cooperation on these issues?
There are, and I'll first say in answer to this question and the prior question about how are we going to make sure that we're ensuring public safety. Our office will continue to make public safety job number 1, 2, and 3. We focus on hate crimes and human trafficking, organized retail crime, the flow of fentanyl, and many other crimes. And we are still working in collaboration with our local jurisdictions and federal entities. I was just at a press conference recently with members of the FBI that were part of a joint task force. And at the staff level, different from the executive level where it's Trump and Hegseth and others. At the staff level, our teams are still working well together. They still want to work together to keep our community safe. We have good relationships. So we just did a major bust involving violent crime and drug trafficking and gun trafficking. So we're going to continue to work together, federal, local, and state. And we're also very clear that the Trump administration is pulling back from some of the accountability roles that the federal government used to have, whether it be corporate fraud or consumer protection. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been completely gutted and dismantled. So we know that we have to step up and do more to protect our consumers, make sure that corporations aren't harming them. And so we've recently gone after the plastic bag industry for violating the law. I had an announcement last week that they were selling, a number of them, not all, were selling plastic bags into California that were in violation of the laws of California. They were not recyclable. And so we settled with some of them and sued some others that wouldn't settle. And we're doing our ongoing work to protect consumers and hold corporations accountable. So we're stepping up, and so are other Democratic AGs at the state level. It's unfortunate that the federal government is receding and withdrawing from their traditional role to participate in those spaces.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Bonta. I think we've run into the 30-minute mark now. Thank you for being here and walking us through these tough but very vital issues with us. I know the people that I represent are listening and they value clarity, action, and fairness. Your answers today help our district understand what's being done and what still needs to be done. And I look forward to continuing this work side by side, my friends, standing up for our rights, keeping our community safe, defending our freedoms, making sure no one is left out. And if you want to give any closing remarks, this is the time to do it.
Thank you. I just want to say to all your constituents, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being engaged. Please know that people power is the most potent power that there is. So keep exercising it, keep fighting, and don't feel hopeless because we're not helpless. We do have power and agency. And if we stick together, we keep turning out and showing up like we did at the No Kings rally, I know that we will be able to prevail, but we have to fight to get there. So stay engaged, even though it's tough. Keep fighting, keep pushing. We are on the side of right here, defending our democracy, protecting the rule of law, making sure that rights and freedoms are honored, that the Constitution is honored. And I'm grateful to be here with you, Congressmember Ruiz. I'm grateful for your leadership, honored for your friendship. Thanks for having me tonight, and grateful to be able to represent along with you your and our incredible constituents here tonight.
Great. I'll see you the next time you're down here in the beautiful desert, the best district, not only in California, but in the nation.
I look forward to seeing you in your district. Thanks
Okay.
again.
Thank you.
Take
I'm
care.
going to stay on a little longer. because there were some other questions that were sent in. Um, these are topics that are pertinent for what's happening right now in the federal government specifically. So the first one has to do with healthcare, and 25% of those who responded wanted more information on the healthcare cuts. John from Hemet asked, for example, will you vote to extend the ACA subsidies? Chris from San Jacinto asked, is Trump planning on cutting Medicare benefits? If so, what are we going to do about it? So on the first question, the ACA tax credit is what we're fighting for right now. I support them strongly, and I'll tell you why. Because in November 1st, in just a few weeks, in addition to the increase in premiums by more than the previous years that's already happening, if the ACA tax credits expire, then people will be paying up to 1,500 or more a month for their ACA premiums. Now, that could be anywhere between $12,000 to $20,000 more a year. So that's why we're fighting so hard right now to protect healthcare and to ensure that the ACA tax credits continue. Now, regarding Trump or Medicare, he's said multiple times he's not going to touch it. But let me tell you how they just recently touched Medicare. You see, the big ugly law raises our national debt by $5 trillion over the next 10 years. And because of that, it triggers a previous law that will have mandatory cuts to Medicare. So, an indirect way, it does cut Medicare because it raises our national debt by $5 trillion by $536 billion. Now, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to protect Medicare, to protect the benefits of Medicare. I have a bill that's called Protect Medicare for Patients and Providers Act that will strengthen Medicare for our seniors. It's something that's very important for my patients when I was a practicing emergency physician, and that's very important for many of our constituents. The next big topic that many people are struggling with right now is the cost of living. And Julio from Beaumont asks, what actions are being taken to lower the cost of health and home insurance, utilities, in general, the cost of living? And so I know that people are struggling right now, living check to check, month to month, and they're only seeing the cost of living continuing to rise. In fact, there was a recent news report here by the local news that beef and meats are becoming more expensive, and so the costs at restaurants are increasing. And a lot of this now is man-made. The previous increase in costs were due to the pandemic and supply chains disruption, as well as the Russian war in Ukraine and all the grain and products that are used for food. But this one, while we were in a good trajectory and costs were trending downward, this one is man-made by one person sitting in the White House, by these indiscriminate, massive tariffs that is imposing, that's increasing the cost of living. And in addition to that, it's destabilizing our economy. Corporations are not hiring. Many are letting people go. The unemployment rate is rising. People are in unemployment for longer than 6 years than most of the history. The unemployed 6-month unemployment length and the amount of people in that category are rising. They're finding it very difficult to find a job right now. In addition to that, the big ugly law, which completely devastates Medicaid and healthcare and hospitals and clinics, that's going to raise the uncompensated care and the uninsured population by $15 million, is just going to raise premiums for everybody. We're already seeing it. There's going to be more layoffs in hospitals and clinics. We're seeing that as well. And so that's why this fight right now to protect and extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits is so, so, so critical. The other big issue was on the government shutdown. And what's the update? Man, I wish I can tell you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but right now, Speaker Johnson canceled work in the House of Representatives. He canceled work during a shutdown. I've never experienced it. It's the first time in history of any history of shutdowns where a speaker just sent everybody home. He quit and sent everybody home. So there's no House of Representative votes, committee hearings, or anything of that sort. There's no opportunity to get together, to negotiate, to try to problem solve these things because Republican Speaker Johnson is refusing to budge on the Affordable Care Act tax credits, to protecting health care. And that's why we're standing strong to say we need to open the government. First step is you need to call Congress back to session. We need to protect health care, and we got to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And that's where we're at right now. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for joining us. We had a very great conversation with Attorney General Rob Bonta of California on some very important topics. This video will be posted on my Facebook page, and you can find it at the @ Rep Raul Ruiz MD, REP RAUL RUIZ MD. It was wonderful to be here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being engaged. Let's continue to put our faith in action, our love in action, our love for our country, our love for our democratic principles, our Constitution. Let's defend her with everything that we have. Thank you very much, and good night.